Hi again. Welcome to AWS Developer Day. I am AM Grobelny. You've been watching us all day. Maybe you're just joining. I don't know. I can't tell because you're out there. I'm here. But we can see what you're putting into chat. So please talk with us. I got Farrah Campbell right here. She's who you're all really here for. She's the best host right here, right?
No,
That's what you told me.
I did not say that.
Oh, you didn't say that. Right.
I said you were the best. You always say.
Okay. Well, how are you doing, Farrah?
I'm good. I'm learning a lot. We're just learning about investigations, and I think we're going to have some agents now, talk about how these agents investigate. So that's going to be kind of cool.
We did. Yeah. We've been talking a lot about using these code assistant tools within your IDE, within, ops, how do I get some of this to help me out? But now we're going to talk with Ryan down here more about like when you're working in your pipeline, your repo, those types of areas, right?
Platform. Yeah.
I would argue, Ryan, tell me if you agree with this, and you better. No, I'm just kidding.
Not much of an argument then.
No, it's not. That's not how I like to argue. I would argue a lot of developers spend more time in those areas than they do actually in the IDE.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we have statistics saying that developers maybe develop one hour a day. The rest of the time is doing other stuff.
Yeah, doing a code review. Going in and running the pipeline, making sure the pipeline completed, right? Oh, no, one of the unit tests is breaking the pipeline again. I'm not jaded. Anyway, Ryan, please introduce yourself.
Yes. So hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Bachman. I am a specialist solutions architect. Live in North Carolina. Came out here yesterday. Prepared my demo on the airplane with my T-Rex arms on the row 33. Yeah, but happy to be here.
I love it. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to be talking about. We had some exciting things. I believe you and I talked at some point late last year. We talked about it on some of our other shows. Speaking of which, we've got a lot of shows, but I will shout out AWS OnAir Friday show. So if you're watching this right now, you will watch it tomorrow. And I believe we talked about this product launch when it happened. But we're talking about Gitlab and some of the integrations with Gitlab on Amazon Q Developer, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So at reInvent last year, we were excited to announce our collaboration with Gitlab with Q Developer, where we are integrating Q Developer and the agents that we got to explore today, as well as other capabilities, natively into the Gitlab product. And so if you look at like earlier today, we talked a lot about Q Developer in the IDE, very personalized experience, very individual experience. But like you rightly called or argued, most of our time is not spent actually in the IDE. So how do we bring these capabilities to platforms where the rest of the SDLC happens? And how do we make teams or developers more efficient there?
Yeah, it was a formal debate. You're right. Let's pull up your screen, Ryan. Let's take a look at GitLab. And maybe we can, for those who have not used GitLab, number one, go out and use it right now. But number two, I'm a big fan of GitLab personally. But maybe you can give us kind of a lay of the land, like, if this is my first time in GitLab, what am I looking at and where are these new agents fit in?
Yeah, sure. So if you're viewing the screen right now, we basically have the layout of GitLab. GitLab is a DevSecOps platform, so all the capabilities and tools that you need to deliver software is all kind of contained in that platform. We are going to be looking at a few specific agents today. First, I'm going to set some context. Right, you see this project or this repository that I'm in, this QPets VMS. Just want to show I do have a real application that I'm working with. The scenario, unlike the last presenter was a junior developer, I'm going to be a senior developer, right? I manage a team. I have to manage a backlog. I have to review code, and so that's going to be the persona that that I take.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing I have here, and I'll go ahead and log in. I don't know if we're still running that challenge. I don't know, 1,000 bonus points to anybody. I have an Easter egg somewhere in this demo. So there's a theme, right? So again, it's not going to be obvious. It is music related. So if anybody can name the artist or the band,
Another challenge.
yeah,
Let's do it.
1,000 points to the attendees.
I don't know if that's a lot of points or not.
I have no idea. But
Okay,
yeah,
1,000.
So yeah, this is another pet management system. I can select my dog, I can schedule an appointment, and I can see the history of past. And that's the application we're working with. So let's get back into GitLab. And the first thing that I want to accelerate for my team is really managing the backlog. This is probably not as exciting for developers, but this is something that a senior or principal engineer might have to do for their team, a team lead, a PM. And you can see here that I have several issues that I have to solve for. I'm going to go into this one right here, and it's about refactoring off.
If I saw this come in,
Yeah,
I would be very upset. And I'd be like, this is way too big.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
right.
You
Yeah.
would close this computer and walk away.
Yeah.
I would do that anyway.
Go re-implement off. Yeah. So
yeah.
one of the things that we're going to do here is just leverage Q developer as okay. And we are going to. Sorry, we've got. Perfect.
We are live.
Yeah.
Hello. Speaking of, drop your questions in chat. I can see them right now. I see figuring out AWS is asking for a link. So please ask us questions. Ryan's here for you.
Yeah. So rather than taking this huge story, right? Like how can I, as a team lead, or even in the project planning phase, leverage Q to help me reason and plan with my stories? Essentially, right? And here I'm just asking Q in context to my issue and in GitLab to help me kind of break it down. Give me some logical steps, and this way I can kind of distribute the work across my team, maybe, or maybe. With that breaking it down, give specific guidance to my developers to make sure that they deliver correctly.
Yeah, it looks like Q agrees with me also that it was too big of a task.
Is that what it's?
I don't know. I'm inferring.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They might not actually say that. But yeah, okay. So, but it is. This is giving you a plan, right?
Yeah, and then from here, I think which is interesting right now. I can take these plans. One is to set up Cognito. I do have a.
See, that should be a story.
Yeah. So, and I can now.
And then
I can
number
now,
two would be a story.
I can take these and then either create subtasks or new stories from them.
Yeah.
And I think directionally where we'll go with this product too is as we find use cases where the conversation doesn't have to just belong in chat, where there's maybe tighter integrations because we are co-building with GitLab. We'll have the ability to take maybe some of these experience and take the output of chat and maybe directly create a story as an example.
Interesting.
So that was kind of, and then here, finally, I did ask it to scale this. I mean, in terms of like maybe sprint planning based on the velocity of my team. Here, Q is going to estimate 13 stories. For anybody that uses Fibonacci scale, I don't know if anybody original OG Scrum people and using Fibonacci. But
Scrum Masters.
Scrum Masters.
I do often ask how many story points do I get when talking with my team, actually. But we don't use story points, so I don't know why I ask it. It's just kind of a joke, actually.
So the next scenario here is we're going to go into code reviews.
My favorite.
Yep. And this is, I don't know how many times, and this is not an egregious one. If I go and look at the amount of changes, and so this is the implementation of refactor auth. I had a story for it. Fast forward, I've already had a junior developer maybe submit some initial changes. And I don't have any context. I mean, just refactor auth, but like, I don't know specifically where they're doing it, how they're implementing. There's really no description here. Right?
Ryan, are you telling me that sometimes engineers might sneak in changes that are unrelated to refactoring auth into a CR?
I tell you, people's I think, pull request, merge request, it's pretty prehistoric when I talk to a bunch of different customers. I mean, there's no organization. It's all over the place. So Wild West.
I definitely have never encountered an engineer trying to sneak in a change in a CR that's completely unrelated to what the CR is labeled as.
It's usually you doing it.
Me doing it. That's right. Fair. That's right. And I don't want you to steal my tricks, my ideas. Okay, so back to this, Ryan. We've got a bunch of code to review. I often, I'm not doing code reviews all the time, but I will get pulled in and I will have no context, right? And I'll have to figure this out. So you're telling me I can actually use Q to perform the review.
Yeah. So as you can see here, I'm in the actual merge request right here, and using the /agent commands built into GitLab, you can start seeing that we have available agents within the UI. And so here, I just want to go ahead and start a comment. And this comment will go kick off the review agent in context to this MR, and then go in to scan the code and hopefully come back with some either weaknesses or findings or some suggestions that will help me as a reviewer just be a little bit more intelligent on how I review the code.
And what agents are currently available in this?
Yeah, so the agents that are available in Q today is the chat that we already explored. We're using review right now, and then we also have the Q dev agent that we saw in the ID, as well as Q transform. So if you're, and I think the transform is very interesting. If I'm transforming 1,000 Java projects, I don't necessarily want to do that for my IDE. So something like integration to GitLab is a pretty
Doesn't sound like that much fun.
Ryan, this is more of a philosophical, maybe opinion-based question for you. Where do you see, in terms of like a team working with this, who would come in and run Q review? Would that be the person who ultimately is doing the code review, or persons that are doing the code, or do you even envision the person who owns the code review, like the check-in, the pull request themselves? Running that.
Yes. So while we're in preview right now, you can see it was explicitly kind of initiated by the user, and this can either be done by the submitter, or I would imagine it's the reviewer to kind of help with the review process,
expedite that.
Yeah. But we are working to make this autonomous too, so you can
cool. Okay.
automatically run a review.
Okay.
So while this is running in the background, I think there's a couple velociraptors in my lab environment. So we'll come back to this one, and I'll kind of skip ahead and go to kind of the next agent just to show you that, and then we can kind of come back to the review and look at the findings there. So the next one I want to talk about is the dev agent. This one I think is interesting, and I think is relevant to a couple of the earlier conversations where, like, are we replacing developers? And I don't think we are, but I think these agentic capabilities help scale engineering teams. And so what I mean by that is I've got some issues here. I don't know if anybody noticed in my UI, I had an issue with my light mode in my UI. So if I was going in here, like, this is all messed up, right? I can assign this to a junior developer, and what is a junior developer going to do? He's going to maybe compare the styling and do some tests, but he's going to do it in the ID. He's going to clone the project. It might be half a day to do a very simple task, all right? Like, I just need to compare a couple styling thing and implement it where it needs to be. Why do I want to waste dev time? I don't know. Like, this is such a simple task.
Right.
So why don't we just solve this?
Something that's very, like, that sticks out to me too is, like, priority, right? Like, we often have prioritization across all of these issues, especially something labeled bug is probably going to sit in the backlog for a long time. And if I can just run something that potentially comes out and fixes this, then I didn't have to prioritize it. I didn't have to assign it to anyone, right?
Yep.
I think that's really powerful. Because we're often juggling on our backlog. This has to go, right? This has to make it to the sprint, or else, like, we're facing serious consequences. So the fixed light mode bug is going to sit for another 2 weeks. We're at 6 months now, but there's nothing we can do. So do you see customers maybe looking at it that way too, Ryan?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, you look at, like, the prioritization, these paper cuts that just never make it above the line in terms of make it on your roadmap or make it into the sprint. So, especially, like, even Q being the first pass of issues. A user reports an issue. why don't you give it to Gen AI and see if you could fix it immediately? One of the benefits of having something like this in GitLab, and we're not really exploring here, but it's connected to your pipelines. So every time an MR is submitted, my pipelines run, my tests run, and I can have high confidence if that change is good or bad.
Right. And MR being merge request.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. That's good.
In GitLab, it's MR, and
Yes.
GitHub, it's PR. It's
There's
all
all
these different,
kinds of
all these different Rs.
But it is you've committed code back to the repo to get merged back into main.
So let's go ahead and look. I don't know. Otherwise, I will. Yep. All right. So it looks like our review is complete.
Nice. And what did it review?
So this is, and so the review agent. I like to think of it. I don't know, like a stegosaurus. You know how they've got those spines and they're like layered.
plates.
It's like plates, but they're like layered security, right?
Yeah.
So
I like an Ogleosaurus personally. Like it's got the shell and then the tail that can just like hit people. Anyway, yeah, Stegosaurus. They got the plates.
and the plates layered defense. But yeah. So anyways, so we're doing a few things. We're doing traditional code weaknesses. So that's your static code analysis, OWASP top 10 stuff. We are doing software composition analysis. So maybe it's your dependencies or packages that you have vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Is there a CVE out for this version of Flask or something?
Yep. And the other one I like here is, see if one is pulled up, and it didn't pull it up, is risky changes.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So we kind of score the MR and try to identify. So for instance, if you're changing an API and
it's not backwards compatible.
It's not backwards compatible. They'll say, hey, do you have clients that maybe use this API and you're breaking changes and stuff like that? So it's not just your static code. It's also kind of this nebulous, risky changes.
Or somebody introduced a subprocess.run in Python or an eval in JavaScript, for example. It might pick up on things like that, right? Executing arbitrary code, stuff like that. I'm not pulling from real life.
And the other thing we can do here in the MR is you'll see this one, the junior developer that submitted this didn't really put any exception or error handling in this. And it's rightly called out. Like, hey, if you're dealing with authentication and tokens, you probably should have some kind of exception. And so what as a reviewer, I can make a comment and say, hey, go fix this.
Yeah, where's the try catch?
Or why, instead of like that context switching and forcing, the developer to... Why don't I just fix it here? Like, what is the value of having, rejecting that PR and sending it back to the developer for them to implement such a straightforward implementation?
Crushing their spirit.
Crushing their spirit.
Yeah, that's what it before. Yeah.
I can
Do
coach
it
them
right.
later.
Yeah, do it right first or don't do it.
I can coach them right later, but like the objective is to get this feature out to the customer, right? And so I can just fix it here. Q will spit on this for a little bit and then recommend a change.
And that'll give you time to think of new ways to crush their spirits.
That's right. Yeah, there's dozens of different ways.
Well, we got about a minute left, Ryan. I do want to cover how people get access to this, right? So you mentioned GitLab Duo. We didn't talk too much about what that is. How do I get access to GitLab and GitLab Duo?
Yeah, so all the information is really on GitLab's website, but this feature right now is available for GitLab users, self-hosted, so not the .com, GitLab hosted on EC2, and for ultimate users. So the documentation is all on GitLab.com, and if you are self-hosted GitLab or you're interested in using self-hosted GitLab on EC2, go check out this documentation.
There's and I think we dropped a link in the chat for a 60-day free trial, so check that out. And also, there's still a few credits left if you complete the survey, so make sure to do that too.
Oh yeah, the survey. There's a survey. Tell us how we're doing.
And I wonder if anybody got the song or the artist.
Anyone? I mean,
Nobody in chat.
I guess it's going to be as Modest Mouse, but I don't know.
No, nice try. It's George Clinton, Atomic Dog, George Clinton.
Oh,
Parliament.
Yeah,
P-Funk.
Parliament.
Yeah.
P-Funk. I know
going
that.
back old school.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ryan. Thanks
you.
for everything. You stay here because we'll be back.